Janis, my friend, I am so excited to talk with you today. We've spoken, but it's been a bit since you've been on Be the Solution podcast, and we have so much to unpack in our time this morning. So, welcome, my friend.
It's good to be here.
Yes, yes. Janice, we have some interesting things in common. One of which I started the videos every single day since last June 18th. Today we're recording this, it's June 13th. So coming up on a year, you started right after, not knowing I was doing it either. And you're coming up on a year. And if you can share, because I actually did a Zoom panel yesterday on why video matters and what it can do for your business or what it can do for your life. But why don't you just share a quick couple thoughts on your journey?
Sure. So my live project, it's actually a year live, and I finished June 21st. It'll be the 365 days. And I actually started it twice before and quit in the middle. So this is my third and final try. And it's interesting because the reason why I started it isn't directly because of business. There's an online coach that I follow, and she did the project to start her coaching career. And I'm not a coach, I don't want to coach,
Who's that?
but her name is Melanie Ann Lyer, and she's incredible. She's Alpha Femme. We could talk about her all day and the magic that she spins because she's incredible. But she did this,
Melanie?
and Melanie Ann Layer,
Okay.
Layer. So she did her year live in the very beginning when she first started her brand, and it catapulted her coaching career. And I just thought that sounds really fun to commit to going on live every day for a year. And I really didn't know why I was doing it. And that's kind of how I do mostly everything is I just get a hunch or an intuition or a desire or an itch, and then I do it and I just observe and figure it out as I go along. And it's kind of a mirror of my life, of how I build my businesses, of how I decide to do things. And what's interesting to me is that I used to have to apologize to myself for living my life this way. And this Year Life project has really showed me that it's okay. It's 100% okay to just do things the way that I do things. And I knew that all along, but this is showing it to me on a much deeper level because so I started my school on a whim. I literally started my real estate school on a whim. I was out for a run one day. I was already teaching somewhere else. And on my run, I said to myself, I don't know where it came from. I'm going to look what it takes to start my own real estate school. And I was going to have my assistant do it. And then I walked into the house and my laptop was sitting right on the table. And I said, I can Google it myself. Like it'll take more time to ask my assistant. So I literally opened my laptop and Googled like how to start a real estate school. And within 30 seconds, I had the answer. And through a just cascade of events, I ended up at the Real Estate Educators Conference in 2 weeks. From then, the conference was rescheduled because of COVID. So it was in October, and I ended up there. I started my school. From the day I went on that run and decided I wanted to start a school, 34 days later, my school was open. I kid you not. And, I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a degree, an MBA or anything like that. I don't do numbers. I don't do projections. I don't do data. I don't do stats. It's not me. And everyone tells you that you should. And if that's your jam, do it. But it's not mine. And I'm enjoying the ride and I'm doing fine. And so this Year Live project really showed me that it's okay to do things my way. It's totally okay. And so it's been an amazing growth process for me over this past year. And I'm so glad that I did it. Business wise, yeah, people see me, but I don't have any direct measure of ROI. Like no one said to me directly, I want to buy a house because I saw your live, or I want to sign up for your class because I saw your live, but it just makes me become omnipresent and connected with people, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. I love your story about how you started your real estate school. I didn't know that that's what happened.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's so cool. That's really great. Um, yeah. No,
No,
nobody,
it's
and that's the thing. You can't pinpoint, and I talked about this yesterday on the panel. You can't pinpoint exactly um, where business comes from unless they're calling and saying, "I found you on Google."
right.
But people will come up to you, right, and they'll say, "Oh, I just heard about your trip to Europe. That's great that you were able to be there with your kids," or I was listening about your wine experience, non experience.
Mhm.
And, that's what they say to me. They come up to me and say all kinds of stuff. So, they're listening. That doesn't mean that they're commenting or liking. And that's what people don't understand with social media. You don't have
Mhm.
to get a lot of comments or a lot of likes to grow a business. There's so many people that just scroll, scroll, scroll and read and don't say a thing.
Well, we all do it, right? We all do it. And, vanity metrics don't pay the bills. So it doesn't matter how many people like or share your post. It matters how people connect with you.
Oh, indeed, indeed. Anyway, I think it's great because it shows people your personality. It shows people your passion and your struggles and your wins and your losses. And anyway, we could talk about the videos all day long because you did now 360 of them or close to that.
Close to
And
that.
I have that experience. So we should do a podcast just on video. But that'll be
Fabulous.
another day.
I'm
So
down. I'm always fine for talking. I love to talk.
So one of the things that's prevalent right now, and that you just went to, I was going to say Washington, but Harrisburg, for this bill in regards to wholesalers and selling real estate. And it's been the bane of my existence for the last, I want to say decade. That right? I would say
That sounds
decade,
about right. It feels
10,
about right. Yeah.
10, 12 years. Um, and they indeed are selling real estate. In fact, Janice, I shared with you 2 weeks ago how two of the wholesalers who I know very well, who, by the way, used to have real estate licenses, took one of my listings and blasted it out, said that they didn't know that it was my listing. First of all, if you go to the property, maybe they should have checked that first. There's a massive banner on it that says Maria Quattrone on the sign. Massive, like 8 feet. And so
Can't
they didn't
miss.
go there. They didn't go there, but they blasted it out. And then somebody walked somebody through the building. And, you know, I'm liable. And that's what got me my panties in a bunch about it. Plus, it's just illegal, not right. I didn't give them permission. We can go down. There's a whole series of problems with it, but that's bigger. The problem that we have in Philadelphia is way, way bigger than what I'm talking about right now. So,
Mhm.
Janice, I'd like you to unpack what happened and why this bill was brought up to begin with.
Sure. So the first thing I want to do is I want to explain clearly and simply what wholesaling is. So for people see it all the time, but there are mechanics behind it. So what wholesaling is someone decides that they are going to approach a seller and say they want to buy the property. This is the wholesaler. So the wholesaler calls someone or knocks on your door or puts a bandit sign on a telephone pole that says we buy houses for cheap. And so they go under contract with the seller to purchase this property for far less than market value. So let's say the house is worth 200,000, they might go under contract to buy it for 80,000. And they say to the seller, this is easy. You don't have to clean out your house. You don't have to do any repairs. You don't have to pay any commissions. You just take the $80,000 and run. You can take what you want with you and you can leave the rest, and it's easy and go. And so the seller, who's usually uneducated as far as real estate's concerned, elderly or disadvantaged or poverty, these are the people that wholesalers prey on for the most part. The seller agrees Now, the wholesaler never has any intention of purchasing the property. And what they do is they make the contract assignable. Our regular contracts are not assignable, meaning the buyer can't give the contract away to someone else. But the wholesaler puts language in the contract that says it's assignable. So now what the wholesaler does is goes out and either lists the property with a real estate agent, broker, or they email it out to their list or blast it all over social media and they say, hey, I have this house. It's worth $200,000 and I'm selling it to you for 150. I have it for sale for 150, which is great for buyers because now they're getting a bargain. So what happens is the wholesaler finds a buyer who's willing to pay the 150 for this property that's under contract for $80,000, and they fill out paperwork that literally assigns the contract to the buyer. So now we have this jumbled up mess where we have the seller, and the seller probably doesn't even know that they signed a contract that's assignable. And we have the wholesaler who's now selling this contract to someone else for 150. And here's what's the part that's a huge mess is that the wholesaler is making that profit. So the buyer's paying 150, the seller's getting 80, and who gets that extra $70,000 is the wholesaler. So the seller, there's so many problems with it. The seller is being robbed of the equity in their property, usually without their knowledge or consent. And the buyer's making a deal, they're getting a bargain, and the wholesaler's reaping a profit. Now, besides the fact that the seller is being robbed of their equity, the real problem also lies in the fact that the wholesaler is in effect practicing real estate without a license. And this is where we've been trying to stop this practice for so long. Because when you have a real estate license, it allows you to bring the parties together in a real estate transaction for a fee. And wholesalers for the longest time have been saying, we're not selling real estate, we're selling the interest, the equitable interest in a contract. And that's been their loophole. But now there is a bill, a Senate bill, Senate Bill 1173, that is going to require that wholesalers get a real estate license. And the way it's worded, the way it's going to happen is that they're having the RELRA, which is the Real Estate License and Registration Act, redefine or add in, define wholesaling and name that as a licensed activity. So they're going to define what wholesaling is, which is what I just told you. And they're going to say, if you choose to wholesale, you must have a real estate license. Furthermore, it's going to require certain disclosures so that the seller knows what's going on. Now, if this passes, which it looks like it will, it's already passed the Senate, it has to pass the House. If it passes, then what's going to happen is real estate wholesalers need a real estate license, and all real estate licensees need to work for a broker. So it's going to be up to the broker to monitor what the wholesaler does, and even if they're going to allow wholesaling in their brokerage. In my brokerage, I don't allow any of my agents to work on any wholesale deals. If a buyer wants to buy a property and it's a wholesale deal, we're not allowed to help them because it is so, I'm so against wholesaling. So it's going to make a huge impact on the act of wholesaling. I'm not going to say it's going to make it extinct because there will be some brokers who allow it, but it's going to make it to the point where when people start wholesaling, first of all, sellers are going to be protected because they're going to have disclosures. And second of all, now we're going to have a place to report wholesalers when they do what they're doing if they don't have a real estate license, and it's straight to the real estate commission. And I got to go the beginning of June, I got to go up to Harrisburg with PAR, and we did Day on the Hill, which was the coolest experience. It's the first time I ever did it, where 250 of us went and we had meetings with representatives and senators and talked about the wholesaling bill and asked for their support. So it was incredible. And now I'm just waiting for it to pass the House, and I'm really excited.
So let's assume that it passes. When would this take into place?
I'm not sure when it will go into effect. I'm sure that'll be part of when it passes. I don't know that much about the inside workings of it. But the other thing is that, and one of the questions that came up at PAR when we were discussing our talking points with legislators is What about the fiduciary responsibility? Because we know when we represent a seller, we have a fiduciary, and loyalty is one of them, which means we have to put the seller's needs above and beyond even those of our own, which is a direct conflict in what wholesaling does. So it looks like if wholesaling becomes a licensed activity, it's not going to be coupled with the fiduciary, meaning the wholesaler is not going to be representing the seller. They're just going to need a license to do what they're doing so that there's no conflict of interest.
Almost like a transaction licensee.
Almost like a transaction licensee is exactly what it looks like it's going to be. And I'm sure there's going to be certain disclosures that we're going to have to, I mean, PAR is going to have to come out with standard forms, which they're working on now in response to the NAR settlement agreement. That's a whole thing that's coming out in July 1st. So they're going to have more work ahead of them now, which I'm sure they're thrilled about. They're slammed.
Well, they've had a break for a while.
Mm.
Yeah, meaning there's not been a lot of changes in the forms. That's what I meant.
Oh no, I know, but it's insane right now what's going on with all the forms. The drafts are out, and I sent them. I have access to them and sent them out to people. There are so many forms that need to change. There's a lot going on. They're a little bit overwhelmed at this point, I think.
Yikes. So
Yeah.
what do you think it's going to, Janice, what's your take on what is it going to do to the wholesale industry?
Oh, it's going to change it for sure. And here's the thing.
Why do you
I'm
think
hoping.
do you think a lot of people wholesale because they can't or get a real estate license?
I don't think
Percentage?
it's so. Okay, so people don't know what they don't know. This is the problem. People don't know what they don't know. And there are some wholesalers who have real estate licenses already. Now they're not complying and they're not doing disclosures because there's no disclosure requirement at this point. But I think the vast majority of wholesalers probably don't even understand what it takes to get a real estate license or what's required. And I know this for sure, because on the first day of class, every single time I have a pre-licensure class, I talk to my students and they don't, for the most part, even understand why they need to be in class. They don't get it. They just know I need to have a real estate license, but they don't understand what a real estate license allows you to do. And if you think about it, and this is my favorite example, you think about online coaches, right? What does it take to be an online coach? Nothing. You just say, I'm a coach. There are certain places that you can get certified with, but there's no governing board. There's no regulatory board that says you need to do this certification to become a coach. You're self-declared, you're a coach. Some are good, some are not good. Well, that's how real estate used to be. Back in the back before like 1929, that's how real estate was. And then in 1980, we got the railroad, and now it's regulated and we have to do what we have to do. So the same thing with wholesaling. Wholesaling at this point, except for Philadelphia in Philadelphia, we were one of the first cities in the country to have a law that says you have to have a license to wholesale, but it's not a real estate license, it's a city license. So you have to be registered with the city and pay a fee every single year. And there are disclosures that need to be filled out, but it's really hard to enforce that. I've reported so many people for not being registered, and I don't know if anything ever happened. But once it becomes on the state level and it becomes to the point where you need to be licensed, it's going to be a lot easier to keep track of people, and it's super easy to report them. And we have to report them because the whole purpose of having a license is to protect the public from sloppy and unscrupulous practices. And wholesaling is harmful, it's sloppy, it's unscrupulous, and it absolutely needs to be curtailed. And I'm just so excited about this bill. And all my wholesalers out there, I know you're all mad at me now, but the reality is if you're going to do it, first of all, there's so many better ways to earn a living. But if you're going to do wholesaling, you're going to have to sit in a class, maybe even mine, and learn the right way to do it and learn the laws. And the reason why I think it's so rampant is because of TikTok University. You have real estate gurus all over the place spewing out information about how to make a quick buck. And people latch on to that because it seems so easy, but they're not learning it the right way. It's not their fault.
Well, wholesaling's been around for a very long time. And the way that it originally worked, which I have no problem with, is that the person who's buying the house goes to the seller and says, look, oh, you have this property, so let's just say it's an estate sale, needs to be cleaned out. They'll say, well, I'll give you $100,000 for it. Maybe it's worth 120, maybe, who knows? But they close. They
That's
buy
not
it.
wholesaling. That's not
They
wholesaling.
Well, that's what they called wholesaling.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
it's
they
not.
But that's what they called it. That's what it was called. They bought it, they closed, they renovated and kept it, or they flipped it. A lot of times they kept it. What
Right. And there's
happened?
nothing wrong with that. There's
No,
nothing
there's
wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. The problem is the whole assignment of the contract. That's
Yeah.
really what we're talking about, is the assignment of the contract, which is what the problem is, because they never intend to close. See, here's where, if they bought it, if they put it under contract and said, I'm going to try to sell it to somebody else. If I don't, I'm going to close. Okay.
Well, it's still a
To a
problem,
degree,
Maria.
to a degree.
Because we didn't even talk about the transfer tax. That's a whole other issue. It's an evasion of the transfer tax, because the way the law is written, it says if you wholesale a property, it's considered two transactions and you have to pay the transfer tax twice. And
I
one of the
understand.
other reasons
I
why people
understand.
wholesale is because they don't want to pay the transfer tax.
I understand. The problem is that when you go to a seller and you say, I'm going to buy the house, unless you have cash and can show them cash, proof of funds, or you're getting a bank loan or hard money or whatever, you shouldn't be able to buy the goddamn house. You shouldn't be the middleman with no money, not a dollar. These people have no money, not $1 to close. Here's what happened. They say they're going to buy it. The seller doesn't even know. They have no idea what's going on. I get a call 2 months later. The guy said he was going to buy it. He didn't buy it.
Can't find them.
I look it up. I said, what's the address? I look it up. It was on the MLS. I said, listen, it was never selling for this amount of money. He was basically offering you a retail overpriced, not even make any sense. Then I get through the whole thing with them. Now, sometimes people get duped once or twice with this nonsense. I talked to somebody last night, waiting for the people to come, give them a cash offer. I'm like, I feel bad because I think, why do people think all these people just have cash offers laying around? Like, if that was the case, we wouldn't even exist.
Well, because they
Think about it.
prey on people. Because wholesalers prey on
Well,
people who
not
don't.
all of them are dumb. Not all the people are dumb, but a lot of people, not dumb,
No,
uneducated about
dumb.
the real estate
Yeah,
business,
right.
uneducated about what's going on. They've lived in their own little box for 20 years. They probably don't even watch the Netflix. They probably don't even have the Netflix.
Here's the
Seriously,
thing.
let
I
alone
don't pay
TikTok.
attention. I don't pay attention to politics. That's me. I'm not interested in politics in any way, shape, or form. But a few election cycles ago, I got extremely interested. And so during that time, my whole entire life was an unhealthy obsession with what was going on in national politics. And one of the things that got me the angriest is that I said, I have a life to live, and the whole purpose of government is so that they take care of these things, and I don't have to be full time involved, worried about it all the time, right? That's my take on it. That's how I look at our industry. I don't think people who don't understand real estate are stupid. I don't think that they're uneducated. What I think is they're doing their life and they're an expert in something else. We are experts in real estate. That's what we do all day, every day. And there are uh, over 39,000 licensees in Pennsylvania. That doesn't mean there are over 39,000 experts. Some of us really know what we're doing, and some people unfortunately don't. But if you need to do something in real estate, you need to contact an expert unless you are one, whether you're buying or you're selling, because this stuff is complicated. We live and breathe this, Maria, right? All day, every day. All day, every day. In
All day,
addition
every
to
day.
all day, every day. We're doing things like you're doing podcasts and talking to people all over the country. You're dealing with clients and city laws. I'm up in Harrisburg. I'm teaching classes. I'm constantly paying attention to the regulations. Like, we live and breathe this stuff. And then you have a wholesaler who saw something on TikTok about how to make money, and they're going and they're robbing somebody of the most valuable asset of their entire life. Like, these people that they're taking from might only have the real estate that they own as their entire nest egg. Like,
Yeah.
that's their entire fortune. And it's so awful. And the problem is, people think that because you see HGTV or these shows where, like, oh, I'm selling a $500 million property. And like, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is contracts and holding people's hands and being a therapist and being a shoulder to lean on. And there's so much more involved with this that people don't know. And yeah,
So
I could
much.
go on. Yeah,
And there's
I
still
could go
so
on.
much even now, even after 20 years, that, I've come across. I mean, I've sold a lot of properties, and I've dealt with a lot of different situations. And even to this day, there's still things that we never have been sold before. Like, even with all our experience, so you never stop learning, you never stop growing. You constantly always have to be making sure you understand what's going on. Things change, just like they're going to
Things change.
change August 17th.
Right. That's going to be
So
fun.
I know it's been a topic, but I haven't talked to you that much about it.
Mhm.
August 17th, we're going to have some new things in place
Mhm.
based on the ridiculous lawsuits that have come down in real estate. In my opinion, they are ridiculous.
I
Anyway,
share that opinion with you.
we have to comply at this point. So my question is, Janice, I have like, I don't know, I have a lot of listings, maybe 70, because they're like land and commercial and residential, all kinds of stuff. Am I going to
Hmm.
get calls all day long from agents asking me how much commission I'm paying?
Hmm. Yeah.
So how would I be able to handle that? Hire another person just to answer the phone? Can't
So,
afford to do that.
right. And yeah, and the agents to it's gonna be a definite change. So there are a few things that I want to say first. The first thing I want to say is it sucks. However, we're going to be fine because we're always fine. And we
Be the
entered
solution, Janice. Be the
be the
solution.
solution. Yeah, exactly. I love it. And it's right over my head. I see it right there. Be the solution. So we are going to be fine. It's going to take some adjusting, some trial and error. But the good news is this is how commercial real estate has been operating forever. And they figured it out and they're fine. They're fine. So one of the ways that I looks like I'm going to be starting out, because again, it's trial and error, is you as a brokerages are allowed to publish the commissions that they're offering to buyer agents on their own website. What we cannot do is we cannot, for example, I can publish the commissions for my listings, but I can't publish the commissions for your listings, even if I have your listings coming over to my website through IDX. So I'm working with my website now. I actually just moved my website over to my CRM to Lofty, and we're working on, I have a call with my manager, to my success manager tomorrow, no, today actually, to figure out how we can add a field in our listings to put what we're offering buyer agents. And so then it's going to be a matter of, we can put in the agent remarks in MLS, you're not allowed to say, go here for commission. But what you can say is, click this link for the full property info, and put that right inside the agent remarks. As long as we don't use the word commission or allude to commission in any way, shape, or form, then it was one click away and then they could get access to that page. So my advice is to try, whether it's through your website or your CRM, or you're just building one lone sales page for each property, like a special property page, put that link in the agent remarks and say, for full property information, click here. That's how we're going to do it.
Okay, that's one way.
Yeah. Do you have a suggestion?
People are still going to call you on the phone.
They can, you know what? They can call me, they can text me, they can do whatever. And I'll tell you what, on the one hand, it's going to suck. But on the other hand, think about this. We don't know how many people are scrolling through our social media feeds if they don't like or comment. Same thing with our listings. We don't know who's looking at them on MLS and really thinking about them. Maybe this is going to flesh out some conversations. Maybe
Yeah.
this is going to be like people calling an opportunity to get on the phone with other agents, because one of the things that I preach to the death is that as agents, our reputation and our relationships with agents is more important than that we have with our clients, not our fiduciaries to our clients, but our reputation, our relationship with other agents is more important because we co-op with them and do deals with them over and over again. So maybe this will be a great way to start a conversation to elevate the industry rather than just seeing it. Now, look, I'm not saying I advocate for this change. I'm just trying to be the solution and look at the positive side of it. And we don't know what's going to happen. But this is where we get into mindset for a quick second. And I love it because it is the name of your podcast, Be the Solution. We could look at this and we could say, this is awful, this sucks, this is going to be the death of the business, and be like the sky is falling. But it is what it is. We're not changing it. It may change. Things go in cycles 10 years from now, or when I'm laying on a beach in Greece and I forget what real estate is all about and I'm out of here, it may change. There may be another lawsuit. There may be something that changes. Who knows? But for now, it is what it is. So just like certain things in life are what they are, we don't have a choice in the outcome. The only thing that we have a choice in is how we're going to react to it. So we can look at the bright side of it and try and find something good and be the solution. Or we could be held in a corner, sucking our thumb, going, looking through the help wanted ads, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do real estate anymore. No, we're going to figure it out.
Well, I believe that cream rises to the top, and
It's
that
true.
will be most of us that are been around and doing well will continue to do well, probably better. And oh, Janice, I read something the other day in
What?
RIS Media that they are considering higher, um, uh, more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Oh,
Uh,
no.
for a license to get a new real estate license, or considering raising the bar.
In Pennsylvania?
Well, I just read it nationally, so I don't know.
Hmm.
You would know in
Well,
Pennsylvania.
we had a change in 2018. We went from 60 hours to 75 hours. I haven't heard murmurings of another one, but there's a real estate.
I think it's just at
Mhm.
a very high level right now with them. I think a lot of this is from a national standpoint, leadership saying we need to have more changes in the way that people get licenses.
Was that
As
Arello? It
It
might have
was
been
through
Arello.
RIS Media.
Right, but I mean the Arello is the one that does national. I forget what Arello stands for. Arello is the national that are trying to pull together national standards for licensure.
I
So it
don't
might have been an Arello, because at this point,
The RIS Media, I get 1 to 2 emails every day about
mhm,
their updates, and some of the
mhm.
ones that I have interest in, I just click on it, and
Yep.
then
I
I
get
hit.
them too, but I didn't see that one because I would have been interested. If you find it, send it to me or I'll Google it. But at this point, first of all, I think that would be a really good thing. And if I got to overhaul the education system, things would be very, very different than they are now. But that's a story for another day. Right now, all the states individually set their own licensing requirements, all 50 states plus DC and the Canadian provinces each. So it's at a state level. So at this point, there's no national requirement for anything. Now, the national exam is the same throughout the entire country, but then the states each have their state portion
Right.
because state laws are different,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is why I don't want to practice in like 50 states. There are some people that have licenses in like 5 states. And like, how, like, first of all, how do you do that time wise? And second of all, how do you keep everything straight? Like, I have a Jersey license, and every time that's my side hustle. And every time I write up a Jersey contract, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I'm not going to jail. No, I'm kidding. But like, I hope, because I don't know Jersey the way I know Pennsylvania. I don't know. It's like being an expert in a field really makes you realize when you're not an expert in something else, you
I
know?
agree. I don't practice in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's
Dara
probably smart. Oh, Dara
Dara
does.
has well, she's a broker in Delaware, PA, and New Jersey.
Right,
But I mean, I think there's enough business in Pennsylvania, and I know Jersey is right here, 10 minutes across the bridge. But first of all, right now, it's so super duper competitive. I have no interest in going over there.
right.
There's no houses in most of the areas in like Cherry Hill, Morristown, nothing to buy. Very little inventory. There's plenty of inventory here in Philly.
Right. Well, I got mine for the purely lazy reason of I wanted to be down the shore for the whole summer and be able to go sell a house if I wanted to, and not feel guilty for being
Yeah.
away for the whole summer. And that's all I do is every once in a while somebody wants to buy a house down the shore. I mean, I've sold a couple things in South Jersey, but for the most part, it's just there. So when I'm down the shore, I can do what I
No
need to do.
inventory there either.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I missed
No,
the
the
boat.
last one I sold was off market.
I missed the boat on that.
Mm.
Janice. Okay. Before we wrap up, I have 2 questions for you. One,
Okay.
guilty pleasure.
My guilty pleasure,
Yes.
reading in the middle of the day. I will literally, I did it this morning. Well, this not even the middle of the day this morning. I got here early and I was finished getting dressed. And so I got dressed at the office and I sat on my couch in my office and I read 3 chapters of my book,
What book are you reading?
A Little Life. It's 800 pages
Oh,
and it's
yes.
supposed to be, I know, and it's supposed to be really good. And I picked it up probably 2 years ago by accident and I couldn't get into it in the beginning. There's 4 main characters and I couldn't keep them straight. So I put it down. And then I kept hearing about how amazing it was. And it was on sale at the bookstore the other day. So I was like, why not? And now I'm obsessed. I love it. So that's what I'm reading right now. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I did pick up that book you told me from the little book thing at the beach.
Which one?
The book
Oh,
thief.
yeah. The Book Thief. Let
I'm
me know when you
starting.
start reading that. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
I'm gonna start it this weekend.
Oh my
I
gosh,
already
it was so
started
good.
another book last weekend. I'm reading Dry by Augustine
Augustin Burroughs. I love
Augustine
him.
Burroughs.
I've read all his books. He's incredible. He's such a great writer.
Yeah, Augustine
Yeah.
Burroughs. I read
Yep.
Running with Scissors, I think it
Yep.
was.
And he also does Magical Thinking. Magical Thinking was incredible. All of his books were incredible. Yeah.
Magical Thinking, okay. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm halfway through that book, Dry, a memoir. Interesting.
Yep. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I
So,
love books so much. That is my guilty pleasure. And do you have Goodreads?
now,
There's an app I'll text it to you called Goodreads, and you get to keep track of all the books that you're reading. You also get to see other people's reviews, and you could be out and you can snap. You hold up the scanner, and it reads the cover and tells you what book it is. So you could be out places at a bookstore, at a friend's house, and they see a book, and instead of taking a picture and forgetting about it, you add it to your list in Goodreads, and you can be friends with people and see what they're reading and share reviews. It's amazing. I'll send it to you after this
oh,
podcast.
awesome.
Oh my God, it's the best. Okay. Yeah,
Definitely.
book
I
reading.
love
I
that.
love
I
to
love
read.
books too. I've loved books
Oh my God, I love books.
since I learned how to read, actually.
Hmm.
Okay, next question.
Next question.
Janice, what
Yes.
are you most excited about for your future?
My future that I'm most excited about is
Yes,
being
ma'am.
being in Greece 6 months a year and having an apartment and a little fiat and doing whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, and taking my business digital for a few months a year.
When are you
Hmm.
doing that?
Well, I'm manifesting it for my 5-year plan, which will bring me to 2028, summer of 2028. And I might go back. I haven't been back in a couple of years. I might go back. I was actually trying to get back this summer for a couple of weeks, but my shore house is still a construction site. So It might not look like this summer, but next summer for sure, I'll be there at least a few weeks in the summer.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's some
What you
Netflix show on about a little town in Greece right now.
Oh, there
And
is?
yeah,
Greece
uh,
is my favorite place in the
I'll get
world.
the name. I'll have to text it to you because
Okay.
I forget what it's called. I just watched it 2 days ago. It's a
Okay.
series.
Okay.
Okay, that's amazing, and I aspire to that too. Not Greece,
You'll
but
be
maybe Greece. I don't know. I just
okay.
said
You'll go to Italy.
I
You'll
am
go
going
to
to
Italy.
Italy. I'm going. 11
Yay.
weeks. I didn't
You're
I
going for 11 weeks or in 11
no.
weeks?
Oh, I wish. I'm going in 11 weeks.
Good for you.
Yes, but I aspire for next year for 1 month,
Mhm.
and then I would love to live there for the whole summer or Europe for the whole summer.
That's my
May to
plan.
September.
See, this is just one other quick example, right? When we talk about how the changes in real estate suck, what's going on after the settlement, but we're going to make the best of it. Why do you think you and I now have on our radar that we can go live in Europe for 6 months? It's because of COVID, right? COVID sucked. It was awful. And not even the people that lost their lives, obviously, that's horrific. But for the rest of us who survived, we were like, this is traumatic, this is horrible, everything changed. But the world has become more mobile now. And you don't need to be in a location in the same way. People were doing it before COVID, but it's a lot more attainable now for the regular person. And so that's just an example. Does that mean I'm glad COVID happened? No, but this is another example of how we take something that's negative and we turn it into a positive. Because I wouldn't have, if it was pre COVID, I would have never thought that I could go to Greece for 6 months a year. And
Be
now
the
it's totally
solution.
attainable.
That's how Be the Solution came because of COVID.
Yep.
I love it. I love it,
Yep.
Janice. Well, thank you, my friend, for sharing time with us this morning. This was a great episode of Be the Solution, and I'm sure to have you back again soon for some more updates, probably after the Italy trip.
Fabulous.
See you soon.
Thanks, Maria.